Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Glad you could join me here today. This is our Friday review. Every single Friday, I love to be able to bring you podcast recap, just in case you missed any of the show's topics. I go over a book review. Today is no different. Excited about this one because I'm actually going to start doing interviews again on the show. This is an author that I would love to bring on for you. Have a nice conversation, take some of your questions, and bring those right into the show. I also have a product review this week, and it's going to be a docuseries on a specific type of toxin. You want to check this out, world-renowned speakers. That is starting in I think it just started today. So you want to check that out as well because it's completely free. And then I'll be bringing you 2 research studies like I always do that I think you or your loved ones would benefit from. All right, so let's dive right into today's show. I always begin with what you may have missed for the week. So what did you miss? Well, we're moving right along through the year. We're already kicked into February. And what I'm trying to do is bring some of those New Year's goals and also the mindset of essentially being a beginner, improving, having that Kaizen-based approach to getting just 1% better each and every day. And that is with our episode on 2915. So if you missed Monday's show, it was how to become deserving of your goals. This is a huge one because sometimes we set goals, we create a vision board, we envision things in our mind for our life, but they don't always come true. Here's one more reason why that may be, and to simplify the approach. I think you'll love it. It's real world. It's easy to implement. And anybody can do it. That's on episode 2915. On episode 2916, I went over copper deficiency signs and symptoms. I gave you about 15 of them. I think I did another bonus 5, but copper is an overlooked mineral that all of us need, and there are signs and symptoms where you may be deficient, especially if you've been using zinc. Copper is zinc's partner, and although zinc is amazing, and I definitely recommend it, it can drive down copper if you're not getting enough. Okay, so I go over that. I go over the ratio that you should be taking between zinc and copper as well. On, let's say, Wednesday's show was actually myth busting on bone broth fasting. You'll want to tune into the show. I have nothing against bone broth. I actually think it could be quite healthy for many individuals, not for every individual, but many. I share what individuals it may not be the best for, who it is good for, but also why it is not a fast and how it does break your fast, and just in every way, shape, and form. And I share with you why. All right. So again, I love being able to bring you the unbiased truth. So I have no interest in bone broth or disinterest in bone broth. I just bring you exactly what it means to be maximizing your wellness. And then yesterday's show, this would be episode 67, 18, 29, 18, because today is 29, 19, longevity research on optimizing your life radius. So this was taken directly from Blue Zones based studies and on PubMed. So a lot of people have been kind of questioning the Blue Zone, saying, is it all anecdotal? Is there any science behind it? So I'm going to share with you on a couple shows. I share with you in High Performance Health, of course, the science behind it. But I just want people to know, you don't need to take everything at face value. You don't even need to believe in everything 100%. But there's obviously huge takeaways and backed by science what works. So I go over life radius. I think this overall principle really makes a lot of sense, and I certainly want to adapt it and have adapted it in my own life. All right, so all these shows can be found at stephencabral.com/podcasts. That's where all the archive shows live. And what I'll also say is all of today's show notes links are at stephencabral.com/2919. That's where the Docuseries links will be, the book links, the research links, all right? So let's dive right into it. Product review of the week is a docuseries coming up called Heavy, and it stands for heavy metals and how they increase Alzheimer's, dementia, gut-based issues, inflammatory syndrome, and much more. So there are about 15 speakers, I believe, for this docuseries. I was fortunate enough to be asked to be one of those. I don't get paid to be a speaker for the docuseries. It was done by Wendy Myers, and I believe she had partners in it, but it's a worthwhile topic. This is a serious topic, and so I was happy to participate, happy to be a part of it, and that docuseries is also free as it launches over the next week or two. And then after that, it will be paid, but you can actually get complimentary access for free, and I'm going to give you the link to use. So one of the reasons why, again, I think it's important to bring this up is that more and more, even in the news now, we're hearing the word toxin. Where 5 years ago, 10 years ago, only people in the natural health field really ever said that. But now it's readily apparent. You go and you walk down the aisle in a grocery store and it says non-GMO on the package. It says like, no pesticides, or it says all the different things stating essentially toxins, mold free. These are all toxins that we know live in the environment. And one of the reasons I think why it's difficult to speak about toxins in general is that they're typically microscopic. You can't even really see pesticide on most produce, even if it's conventional sprayed when it arrives to the grocery food store. And same with heavy metals. So you're not going to see mercury or lead or aluminum. You're not going to see these things in your water or on your food or in the salad bar. So what we want to do is learn where they come about and how we can avoid them. And I think that's really important. And so you can get all that information completely free on the Heavy Docuseries. I'm going to get you the link for the free one, and that'll be at stephencabral.com/2919. Check it out, and of course, let me know what you thought. All right, book review of the week. And like I said, I'm going to be starting my interviews, slowly rolling them out over the first quarter of 2024, and then continuing to grow interviews on the Cabral concept. Each interview, though, is going to be highly curated, which means that some weeks I'll have an interview and some weeks I won't. And it's because I'm going to invite people on that I want to have conversations with. So about 4 years ago, I was doing interviews. My time is so limited. I have so little time in my schedule, but I do want to make time for these interviews. I think they'll be really worthwhile. They're going to be somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes. And that's enough time for me really to pull out the information that I'm looking for that I also think will be beneficial for you. So one of those guests that I'm looking to invite on, of course, if you know Dr. Becky Kennedy, please do feel free to connect us. Of course, my team and I will be reaching out to her. But #1 New York Times bestseller, Dr. Becky Kennedy, wrote a book called Good Inside. This is a book actually that my wife recommended that I check out. It's called A Guide to Becoming the Parent You Want to Be. And so my wife and I have talked over the years about different parenting strategies, trying to do our very best for our two daughters. Now, of course, we're not perfect. I don't think anybody can be a perfect parent because we all have our own emotions. We all bring our own childhoods with us. We all bring our own trauma and different things as well. But what I would share with you is this, is that the tips inside of this book are real world. Again, they don't cost anything to implement. And I want to put it this way. Even if you don't have children, you could read this book. As I was reading this book, this is really about relationships. It honestly is. It's being a better listener. It's catching the reactions you have inside of your own self before you just blurt them out. So a lot of the things that we say where we don't have the patience, we're a little short-tempered, or we're trying to mold them to be more like an adult rather than as a child, we have to understand is that even as adults, we're still kids. Like we still have those emotions inside of us. And so if we're a little more cognizant of that, we'll stop and we'll use different phrasing, different terminology, and then we can create different activities to create better relationships. So especially as my daughters are getting a little older now, I know they're only 9 and 11, but these things are very important, is that the relationships, and you can start anytime, but the relationships and the amount of effort and energy that you put in it is directly reflected in what you get back as well. And as a child, how you're shaping your children. So it's an excellent book. It's very easy to read. It's broken up into like 10, 15 page chapters, and it's just about 270 pages or so long, maybe close to 300 pages. Easy to read. Like I said, an excellent book. And like I said, Good Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy. I definitely recommend it, especially if you're trying to improve your overall parenting and raise as great of children as you possibly can, even though you and I probably aren't perfect. All right, so that is our book recommendation of the week. And I want to bring you now some research. So really quick research studies. I thought it was important. There's a lot of people who demonize grains, or they demonize nuts, they demonize seeds, they demonize fruit, they demonize even meat, or they demonize everything, right? Like everything is the worst. Well, if it's a whole food, I think we probably can't eat it. I don't think we should go overboard on eating certain things. And I do think that the majority of our diet, based on the longest lived people, should be predominantly plant-based. So like, think of that however you'd like. Well, it doesn't mean, again, I always have to say this, it's like, you have to say it now, but it's like, it doesn't mean that you can't eat meat. It doesn't mean you can't eat fish. It doesn't mean that you can't eat eggs. It doesn't even mean that you can't eat some dairy. But we just want to be careful with making our whole diet that, right? And so one of those things, which is still plant-based, are nuts. So should you be eating, heavily roasted, added oil, added tons of salt, all of those things? No, probably not. But if you're eating nuts that are from nature, then you're probably going to be okay. How many nuts should you eat per day? Probably a couple tablespoons. That's about it. Like, that's really what you need and can enjoy for a snack. We don't need to go overboard. And also, if they agree with you, you can eat them. Now, having said that, it doesn't work for everyone. It's interesting, but for myself and one of my daughters, we don't do great with a lot of nuts and a lot of seeds. A little bit, yeah, no problem at all. Like a little bit of flax, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, macadamia, no problem. A lot, yeah, just don't do as well. But that's okay. Like, everybody's going to find the proper foods that fit with their bioindividuality. Having said that, if you can't eat nuts, it's been proven they're great for the heart, great for overall blood pressure, great for the blood sugar. So if those are the 3 top causes of mortality, why not try to add in a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons a day? Here's one more reason. This is on almonds specifically. Now, almonds, you do need to get organic. This is important. And you don't have to just eat almonds, right? So it's like there are other nuts as well that are excellent. You can go with walnuts. You can go with macadamia. You can go with pecans. You can go with a lot of different ones. But this one is, let's see, the research is out of King's College in London in the Department of Nutritional Sciences. And it was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. All right, so Dr. Creedon says gut bacteria people who consumed 2 ounces of whole or ground almonds per day produce significantly more butyrate, the primary fatty acid fuel source for colon cells, which is your large intestine. Increased butyrate levels can optimize nutrient absorption and reduce gut wall inflammation. So basically, when you eat almonds, the colon bacteria produces more butyrate, a fatty acid, which helps to decrease inflammation in your bowels or in your large intestine. Let me just finish what she says. Butyrate has also been linked to heart and immune system benefits. And one of the other great things is the fiber that it has in it as well. So really simple, really straightforward. It doesn't just have to be almonds, but a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons really maximum per day could provide you with a lot of those great benefits. If possible, raw almonds are best. If you're not able to get raw almonds, that's okay. Maybe lightly roasted. If you're getting salt on them, get sea salt. That's a much better way to do it. And again, I know there's a lot of things around sea salt now. I'm not going to get into that. We'll probably do a separate show needing to give deeper explanation maybe on Himalayan versus Celtic versus or Celtic, however you like to pronounce it, versus Redmond sea salt versus rock salt. I've done a few shows on that before. I don't think that we need to get overly wound up in it, but do make sure that you're getting clean sea salt, just like olive oil, from a trusted source that you believe in. All right, one more study for you here today. This was fascinating. A lot of people read into the Cabral concept. They know I have a whole page, which is completely unbiased, on everything, all the latest cutting edge things on how to regrow your hair and stop hair loss. That's at stevencabral.com/hair-loss. stevencabral.com/hair-loss. You can see it's about 3 years ago now where I lost half the hair on the top of my head. And it was unbelievable. And it just happened too fast, right? If you're going to lose your hair, you want to lose it over time. And just, again, some people don't mind, some people mind, but you don't want to lose. It's shocking when you lose it right away. And I lost mine like super quick. And so I just said, I've helped clients before to stop hair loss, to stop thinning, and even help, in some cases, regrow all of it. And so I just said, treat yourself like your own wellness client. Go through everything that you've ever learned on this, and then just put it out there for free to people. And that's what I did. So it's all at stevencabral.com/hair-loss. And so you can just see all of that. But I like to keep up with the research because a lot of people do ask. And I give you everything. I give you literally conventional medicine. I give you natural, and everything's on that page. So you can always use that as a resource and pass it around to people if you'd like. Well, here's an interesting one because I study a lot of the advances in medicine that are not out quite yet. but they're important because we want to keep an eye on them and we want to make sure if they're safe that we could potentially use this in the future for people. All right, so it's called osteopontin. It's a molecule found in hairy moles. So this is a potential fix for hair loss and regrowing hair in the future. And it was published, in Nature, really reputable journal, and it was done at the University of California, Irvine. So reputable university, reputable journal. Here's what they're doing. They are looking at this one specific molecule that's found in hairy moles, which activates the stem cells of normally dormant hair follicles. The molecule which they used in the study led to hair growth in mice and was replicated in a laboratory setting using human hair follicles. Pretty amazing, right? So now you might say, well, how can I get this? Well, it's still years away from being able to use experimentally first in humans and then in the future, well, probably widely used. How will they use it? I don't know if it will be direct application, but I probably believe so. They're using things like microneedling of the scalp right now. I have a whole podcast on that. Microneedling of the scalp, the specific studies, how it worked, etc. And they're most likely then going to transdermally put this molecule maybe in a liposomal formula or oil and then have it seep into the hair follicles. Again, I don't know, or maybe it is an ingestible. Maybe it is a medication. I don't know. But one of the reasons for hair loss, sometimes there is destruction of the hair follicle. There's no doubt about that in autoimmune-based issues. That is possible. And that's a problem, right? Because you'd have to then regrow the hair follicle in the first place. But for a lot of people, we just move through the hair loss stages. And again, I have a whole podcast on hair loss. It's all at stephencabral.com/hair-loss. I move through all the different phases of hair growth. And when your hair's put in a dormant state, well, more hair is always supposed to be growing than you're losing, because you're always losing hair on a daily basis and during certain phases in a much larger state. Well, sometimes you stay in that state and you don't then regrow the hair. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that the hair can't regrow. It's just not. It's stuck in the wrong state. And this particular molecule, osteopontin, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing the pontin pronunciation correctly, but it's Pontin, that could kick the hair follicles back into the growth-based stage. So I wanted to share that with you. I find this type of research fascinating. I do believe that really anything that ails people, there will be a fix for. I truly believe this, just in the next 15 to 20 years maximum. Now, things like this, maybe the next 5 to 10 years maximum. But we're having such great breakthroughs at such rapid rate that is fascinating. It's fun. I'll continue to keep you updated. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow on a brand new Cabral concept, answering our community's questions. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate the subscribes, the reviews, and the shares. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.